What's up, guys? This video is going to be a test. I'm going to try just testing out some settings here with this, just regular, and then I got, a mic for the car. So, but I just, this morning was just thinking about a topic that I've thinking about, for decade, years, more recently for, it's the subject, I never could think of the word if it's French or Italian, but it's French. I just googled it. It's Amour Fou, right? Crazy love, and and you know, it's easy to talk about a lot of videos on YouTube and personality disorders, and I just wanted to frame this video in a way that's kind of again more of a it's really easy to talk about the other, right, and blaming the other side, and to the extent that your relationship was toxic or crazy in this case, right, or for the sake of amour fou, which is crazy, or is love that's crazy love, and I think about the Sopranos episode. It's the best. God, it's got to be my favorite episode by far. It's absolutely phenomenal, and the idea of just like that. That's a trauma bond. That is the trauma bond of all trauma bonds, right? Your love is based in, the the purest love is like the love that a child longs for their parent, right? And it's weird in our society, this American society. I feel like, at least my culture, American society, whatever, growing up, suburban white dude in a lower middle class family, and like it's like the narrative like was like once you're 18 you're on your own and that's it. And obviously there's a spectrum in that, but like my point is that in my head I'm like yeah, once you're an adult you don't need the love of your parents, like, and I don't know, I can go a whole tangent, but you never, there's gonna be a lot of projection in this video, but you never stop needing the love and approval of your parents, especially if it was never given. And to the extent that you haven't done the work, you haven't understood what you grew up with, that trauma bond is even more, not insidious, but that bond with that other person in your partnership, that of course depending on how toxic it is, but I'd say it's the highest, the highest level of toxic, like the extremes, which the way I see it is like a psychopathic, you know, uh, psychopathic woman with zero empathy, zero sense of self, and then the extreme codependent. And again, it's easy to blame one side, but that's not how human beings are. They're, again, I get back to evil, I get back to, ignorance. There's so many variables, and again, that person there, I think there is a point at which something becomes evil, but again, try and follow me. My brain is weird, and I end up getting obsessive on certain concepts. But okay, so we look at the extremes of a relationship like that, and it can be the most, like that trauma bond, that crazy love, toxic relationship, whatever you want to call it, at the extremes. It's like that. Getting back to my point, if you haven't done the work with your family, it's like that relationship is even more. It's even more dangerous, I guess, is the way to put it, because you can't give up. Like, that relationship means more. The implications of a trauma bond in a toxic relationship the whole time is if this person leaves me, I can't handle that because I'm being left again by or abandoned to the degree that like the trauma bond exists. Like it could be usually it is abandonment and like these this tug of war mentality where it's like giving validation, taking it away, chasing, like it's every one of those crazy relationships are both completely different and exactly the same at the same time because it's all based off of an unhealthy attachment style and an unhealthy usually childhood and way you attach to your parent or needs were not met. And so I mean that's the point of this video, is to talk about, again, if you were dating a psychopath, ASD, like at the very least, let's just say a narcissist, which most likely it is more like narcissist, sociopath if you're extreme codependent, because psychopaths, I don't know, it's really hard to say. Again, I'm not an expert, but I've done a lot of research, and this is the thing about these titles, is like they help paint a picture about what someone's mental, or where the blinders are on in their pathways in their mind, and the way they look at the world, the way they perceive people and themselves. So not getting too caught up on the definitions, but let's just say, okay, they're cluster B for sure. And I almost think to some degree a codependent is not a personality disorder. It's a way of looking at another person in relation to your values, i.e. usually codependent. I mean, at the extremes, we're talking about a male here, is very usually perfectionist, obsessed with their image and doing things perfect. Not obsessed with their image as much as obsessed with people pleaser. Will put all the weight on their back. Will disregard their own boundaries for somebody else. And thinks that that's love. Because codependency, it's like a 180, right? Like, just because somebody is being extremely unempathetic with no boundaries on one way, and then you going the other way, doesn't make you good. You're just another version of what it's like. Makes you think of depression as, rage is not good, then depression is rage turned inward, which is, I mostly agree with. But also it's like an offense defense game. Where do you lie at a particular moment of time in the toxic abuse cycle, in the relationship, and in life? It's like, if you were discarded and all that crap, it's easy to say, yeah, I was abused and all this stuff happened, which, again, you were. I'm not invalidating. And this is where the beauty is, and this is the balance of life. This is the chance you have as a codependent, if that's, you're more likely watching this if you are trying to heal and figure out what the hell happened to you. And this is that balance, is that although you weren't, it takes two to tango, and you may be, in the end, discarded and realize what really happened and how you were abused, and you probably didn't. And this is where I do see the side of malevolence, because that it takes a certain lack of empathy, and I think there's a crossroads in which a personality disorder and someone's actions oversteps the bounds of rational, not even of humanity. Like, you can treat a person in such a way that I think you've crossed over into a different plane, and where some of these women get guys to like, there's a lot of unaliving happening now, and that's, I think, you're reaching that point. Yes, that codependent. Yes, that man was, they didn't have boundaries, and ultimately, that was their choice, not their choice, but that was, that boundaries are for you. And so I'm going on a tangent here, but I just think that, especially in society today, people are afraid to speak the truth, afraid of a lot of things, and when you have that, it's not rocket science. It will only lead to more pain, because people on the margins will always be the ones to feel the brunt of it. The people without a voice are always going to feel the brunt of it. You can frame it any way you want. You can talk about race, religion, socioeconomic status, political views, height, weight, whether someone has a big nose. I don't give a shit. Ultimately, that kind of thinking, and the kind of thinking where you conflate weakness and cowardice with virtue, i.e., an inability or lack of inclination or desire or meaning, a lack of seeing a choice to choose a lie over the truth. That's it. And the longer we enable lies and don't stand up for what we believe in, it doesn't really matter what it is. Like, this is the whole problem, is, Jesus Christ, this is the most tangential thing. I'm just gonna, again, if you watch any of my videos, I guess you're just gonna get used to it. I just go on I start with a topic and I start running. I don't know. Maybe maybe it's has value, maybe it doesn't. I'm trying here. But I'll just keep going. And well, now, see, when I qualify the way I think, then I end up losing my train of thought. So for the sake of this video, we'll go back to the initial topic, which is the crazy love. And geez, that was like the biggest. That wasn't even like a weave. That was just a completely off topic and went into a whole different thing. I don't know. Maybe I've always been like that. Maybe it's trauma response. I don't know. Maybe, yeah. But so again, the point of the video is basically to, again, grace. Give yourself grace if you were, get out of the toxic relationship and you're the codependent and you're discarded. But also understanding that, like, this is something that just kind of has been going through my head recently, is like, the person that did not want to see the truth of their actions is ultimately the one that I mourn and I pity and I pray for, because they are on a path of destruction that will never and they'll never change. So that pain is a catalyst for change, and everyone knows that to be true implicitly. And that's, in my opinion, just like women have inherent beauty, like man's inherent beauty is endurance. And I think and to me, that's one of the most sad things in society today is not only not acknowledging, not only not embracing man's duty to be powerful and to endure and to protect and all these things that we know inherently men are here to do. But to not even acknowledge it is, to me, is one of the worst things in our society today. And don't let them conflate your pain with weakness and and being weak and useless and whatever, because that pain is literally, it can be a catalyst for change. It can also be, and this is where the part of evil comes in, is, to me, is an idea, is that idea of what that person did. Because often this is where the psychopaths and these people are not, they're not transparent, and they don't tell you what they're doing because they know it's bad. And that is the moment of evil. And that's like a virus. To me, that's the idea of evil. And that's where I believe it's real. People aren't. People have, we're just, but there's a moment where it flips. And because the evil is where that pain, when the man chooses, let's say he chooses to give up and to continue, he says, I'm just going to use women. I'm just going to never care about another woman ever again. I'm going to, at the least, at the worst end, I'm going to be just like that person, and I'm going to get pleasure from seeing somebody else's pain experience what I experienced. To me, that is the epitome of evil. That moment. And it's childish. It's evil. It's hard for me, like, it really makes me feel to bring that up, because that is a thing. And I don't go there. I never have since I was a child. Like it's so, like, I don't know, whatever. So yeah, just wanted to talk about, like, the trauma, essentially the Trama Bond, just kind of reframe it into, like, I plan on doing this video talking about The Sopranos, and how that's just, like, one of the best depictions I've ever seen of that. The crazy love, Trama Bond, you can call it whatever you want. And that's, like, I guess at the end of the day, if you haven't done the work, this is the biggest thing, is a trauma bond that is ultimately a choice. Like, people go their entire lives living like that, and that's a choice. You can be alone, you can be miserable, you can, and I would argue often people, if the relationship didn't end bad enough, and that's again where you have that choice. That's where the balance comes in. Like, if you survived it, you and you had, pain that was unbearable for years, and, like, it's the more the pain, I would say, the more pain, and the longer it's prolonged, the worse it was, and the longer it prolongs, I think, gives you the best chance for never picking that person again, for never repeating that, for change, essentially, because you put out energy and it comes back at you. So people go, ick, oh, boundary guy, what, I mean, pretty much that's what it comes down to, boundaries. Yeah, boundaries are for you, not for them. That's a good way to end this video. Very convoluted. I don't even know if I'll post this one. It's so probably cringy, because this might be the most tangential fucking thing I've ever, monologue I've ever done or whatever. But yeah, I might try it again with the mic and post whatever one sounds better. All right, guys. Boundaries are for you. Cheers. And I ended it like that. Super awkward.